Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Road Show, a series of videos we plan to do centered around probably the #1 issue in Spanish Fork, traffic. And we've looked at the results of the resident opinion survey. We've experienced it ourselves, and we know that traffic can be a big issue. So we wanted to bring up some of the things that we're doing as Spanish Fork City to address that issue, to increase traffic flow. And today we're going to look specifically at projects that are going to happen in 2023 to help alleviate traffic and make things better. To cover this topic today, I've invited three of our engineers with us. So Chris Thompson, a city engineer and public works director, Jared Johnson, our engineering division manager, and Dylan Muirbrook, our traffic engineer. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Welcome. Let's just jump in. There's a few projects that I know you have prepared to talk about. I know one that's probably on the top of people's minds is something that we've talked about before, and we issued a statement a couple months ago regarding Spanish Fork Parkway and that crossing over the railroad track. So, Chris, you can tell us a little bit of history on Spanish Fork Parkway and where that project's currently at.
Okay, maybe if we can bring up the map on the screen. If you look, there's this yellow line or green line right here that outlines Spanish Fork Parkway. It starts over by the neighborhood Walmart and Canyon Road, and it goes all the way past Maple Mountain High School, eventually across the railroad tracks, and then over to where the hospital and the other Walmart is. Anyway, this parkway has been held up for quite some time with this railroad crossing. This railroad crossing took a long time to get permitted over the years with Union Pacific. It went through somewhat of a policy change with them. So originally you would have to take a crossing, give it up, and then move it to this other crossing. Then they've transitioned to where they actually want cities to give up 3 crossings, 3 vehicle crossings in order to get 1 additional crossing. So we've had to work hard to find 2 other crossings that we could give up in order to get this crossing, and even with that, once we had settled on those crossings that we could give up, it took well over a year and a half to just get the permit in place from Union Pacific. Maybe Jared, could you talk a little bit more about this and timeframes?
Yeah, we're planning on getting that crossway or that crossing built this summer, hopefully open by the end of this summer and running in this fall. The crossings that we had to close were 3400 East and US89 is the one crossing, and we can show it on the map. So we're planning on closing 3400 East, and it's over near Mapleton and Highway 89. So we're working with UDOT right now, Mapleton City and Utah County, in a joint effort to get this crossing closed this April. It's one of the most unsafe crossings we have in our city, and so that's the reason we chose that crossing. UDOT also has agreed with us to close it because in order to improve that crossing, it cost millions of dollars. The signals wouldn't work with that crossing. So we've chose to close that crossing. It's going to be closed in April. Our city crews are getting everything ready to implement that. That's pretty much it on that crossing.
Okay, thanks. The next thing that we're really excited to talk about is an upcoming project that UDOT has planned on US6, on Highway 6. The whole area between Canyon Creek Parkway and Expressway Lane is going to be rebuilt, widened, left turn lanes. All of those improvements we're hoping that we can get in before the Target opens. This has been a difficult project to design with all the right-of-way acquisition and things like that. So it's still a little bit up in the air whether UDOT will be able to do this project this summer or not, but both us and UDOT are hopeful. Dylan, would you mind talking about more of the details of that project?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, let's pull up an image of it as well so we can see what we're talking about. So as we discussed, this is US6 is what you're seeing here on the screen. Obviously we come all the way from the canyon to I-15, and it's a major route for trucks as well as all of us who live here in Spanish Fork. So it's an important place to be. That's compounded by the fact that we have our biggest commercial developments right alongside US6. So I think everyone who's watching will understand that that is a difficult place to be when there's a lot of people there at the same time.
Definitely, which is every day.
Which is every day, yeah, and worse on the weekends, right? So what we're hoping here is that this fix by UDOT will alleviate some of that congestion. If we go to this next one, this is a mock-up of what UDOT will be doing in this next year, hopefully this summer. As you can see, they're going to widen a little bit and add an extra lane in both directions so that we have those 3 lanes going in each direction. Another really important feature of their project is that we're going to have dual left turns. So we'll have 2 left turn lanes at all of these major intersections. So that allows more people to turn left at the same time. That means you won't have those lines that stretch all the way back to I-15 when people are coming home from work. So we're hoping this will be a really, really big fix and a good temporary solution for US6. But beyond that, we have a number of other things. Besides what the state of Utah is doing, the city of Spanish Fork has a number of other projects that we are implementing this year to further alleviate the congestion. And Chris, would you maybe want to give us an overview on those?
Yeah. So what we have here is if you look at where Target is going in, where the old Kmart was, we have an intersection here where Wendy's and McDonald's is, and then the entrance to Target where we are adding a signal. And then we're also adding a signal further up the road at Marketplace Drive. These 2 signals we think are going to be key to getting traffic in and out of this commercial area and over by where the hospital is. We're also adding some lanes to those. I think we have some graphics that show the lanes. One thing that's going to be really important is we're adding 2 additional lanes here on Expressway Lane over by Arby's, so that we can get traffic to clear that intersection a lot quicker. Now, once you go through this intersection, we have a fairly complicated intersection on the other side of US6. Maybe let's go to that one. Let's skip ahead too. And Jared, would you mind talking a little bit about some of the changes we're going to make there?
Yeah, we're going to add an extra lane on 8th North. Right now we've only got 2 lanes heading to the east, and one of them was a dedicated right. We took that away with the traffic study that Maverick In and Out and that development proposed to do when we actually built that development. We've noticed that not having that dedicated right is not working. People are cutting through the gas station. They're making dangerous moves at that intersection. So what we've done is we've hired an engineer to design an extra lane. So we'll have a dedicated right and 2 through lanes, and then we'll keep what we have on the north side, which is the 2 lanes off of US6. This is going to be done in April. It's in design right now. It's part of the project across the street, so it'll just be it's a CMGC project, so we'll get the guaranteed maximum price from them and get that constructed in April, hopefully open by the end of April.
So that'll be great.
I think the business owners in that area are going to be really excited to have that.
They've really pressured us to get that done. So we've committed to get it done. It should be done. So
fantastic.
Perhaps the project that I'm most excited about, though, is the widening of 10th North coming over to Highway 6. I think that's become quite a bottleneck of late. And maybe if we could zoom into that project, and Dylan, could you kind of explain what we're doing there?
Yeah, absolutely. Like Chris said, this is a really interesting and important project. One of the hard things about the way that our city is laid out relative to US 6, Highway 6, is that we have these 2 major intersections of 2 major roads that occur like 100 feet away from US 6. And that makes it really difficult for us to manage traffic flow. So this project is going to fix a lot of those issues. One thing you'll notice right off the bat is we're gonna, this big green spot in the middle that you're seeing, what we're going to do is put a median right down the center of the road that you cannot cross. Now, obviously that's going to remove a left turn. And we've thought long and hard about whether or not that's something we can do. And all of our studies are coming back and saying, you know what, it's probably the best way to handle it. So we'll have to send people who want to go left here all the way down to 400 East, a couple of blocks away. But everyone else, you'll notice, is going to have a whole lot easier time getting through US 6, whether you're turning on to US 6, going through the intersection toward Walmart and Cinemark, or turning right onto US 6. All those options are going to be a lot better. You'll see we have, again, the 2 left turn lanes. That's a whole lot of storage. A lot more people will get through that signal at every cycle. And then the 2 through lanes to get you across the intersection toward the Walmart and commercial areas. So we're excited about this project. We think that what we've noticed is about 99% of people want to go across that intersection or turn left at that intersection. And then 1% want to turn left from 600 East. And so at the expense of that 1%, what we're going to do is make it faster and easier for everybody else to get through the intersection. And we're providing ways for that left turn to still be possible in another location. So
this will make it so that we can clear the 10th North traffic quicker, which then allows the traffic on US 6 to have more time to clear as well. So it just improves everything in all directions.
I just want to add, we're going to do that this summer too. So it's part of the same project. I don't think you talked about the timeline, but that's going to be constructed this summer as well.
This will be great. I think it'll be huge. And just a little bit of right away, acquired from, this is a church parking lot here, and on the bottom of the screen right, and you'll widen those lanes, and this will be a fantastic improvement to this area.
yeah, in fact, Nick, that's a good thing you mentioned that we should note. Right now, if you come over here, if you can kind of see underneath this, right now the curb backs up right against the parking lot, and there's nowhere to walk. And so one of the features of this project, you'll notice, is we're going to add that sidewalk in against the parking lot. So now you'll have a place for pedestrians to safely walk in what's a really busy commercial area, right? And there's a lot of demand for people to be walking around. So that's another really important part of this project.
Fantastic.
If you go to church there, that parking lot was actually quite a bit bigger than it needed to be. And so with the reduction of parking lot size, they still have about the same parking spaces. So really this project didn't harm the church at all as far as parking spaces go, and allowed us to add some lanes on 10th North, which I think will be really appreciated. Let's go to the next project, which we'd like to talk about, and that is on 8th North at 400 East. We're excited to have a signal go in here. This intersection has warranted a signal for quite some time, hasn't it,
Yeah.
Jared? I think it would be good for us to kind of zoom in into that, and then maybe either you or Dylan, could you talk about the details of that signal?
Yeah, Dylan, go ahead. I think you're the design engineer on it, so.
I am very familiar with it, that is true. Yeah, so as Chris said, this is an intersection that has warranted a signal for some time. What that means I'm an engineer, right? So that
Yeah, that means something to you. That doesn't mean much to me.
For everyone else, what that means is we have discovered years ago that this intersection has, 1, a lot of traffic, and that causes congestion, and 2, it's actually kind of unsafe. We see some unsafe conditions for pedestrians, for bicyclists, and for the vehicles that are in the intersection. So these are all bad things, and we want to fix all of them with a traffic signal. And nothing's perfect, but the traffic signal should help alleviate a lot of those concerns. And so if we go one more, let's take a look at our plans here. We're going to be, it's a pretty typical signal. We're going to be installing this on the existing roadway, so we don't need to do very much widening or work on the road. It should be pretty minimally invasive, is how I'll say that. It's like the best kind of surgery, and we'll hopefully get the same results. And you'll notice one thing that's kind of curious about this intersection that's a little bit different is what we call split phasing. Again, that's another engineering term. But what that really means is, if you notice, the left turn movement for the north and the south directions and the through movement are combined. Instead of the right and the through being combined. That is a feature we decided to include at this intersection to get people to where they want to go the most and in the fastest way possible. And actually, if we were to go 2 blocks north of here at 1000 North, you would see the same thing. So it's been done elsewhere in the city. It's something that's very normal for people to experience, but it's a kind of unique feature of this signal. If we back up one, let's take a look here. Just for reference, this one at 400 East, we are done with design. We are going to start building it in the next couple of months. You'll notice we have another one listed at 200 East. 200 East has some of the same issues as 400 East, but with not quite as much traffic right now. We're expecting in the years to come that intersection will get significantly busier, and it is also an important way to access those commercial areas to the north, right? You have Costco and Macy's in those areas. 200 East is another important way to get there. So we're going to go ahead this summer, if possible, and install that traffic signal as well, and it'll look about the same as the one you just saw.
That'll be great, especially as we try to get people off of Main Street and using some of these other roads to get to Costco and Macy's.
That's a really good point. A lot of these projects that we're doing is to alleviate pressure on Main Street. So if we can get people up into the shopping areas without having to get onto Main Street and maybe use 8th North and some of these other north-south corridors, that would be really helpful. And I think these 2 signals are really just the start of that effort. We're also planning this summer to do a couple projects on Center Street. We'll have a new signal at 630 West and a signal at 800 East. Jared, will you talk about the 630 West signal?
Yeah, if you want to bring that up, we're working on that right now. You can see all the construction down in the area of 630 West. The new high school is being built right here to the north, and then we're building a new SFCM building right here to the south. The signal will be placed this summer, and we plan to construct a 5-lane road along 630 West between Center Street and 100 South.
Now, the reason it's a 5-lane is eventually we'll have 5 lanes all the way to Main Street,
yeah,
right?
Correct, all the way to Main Street. Once the Center Street interchange is built by UDOT, we'll have a 5-lane road from Center Street all the way to Main Street, and that'll act as a main corridor and alleviate congestion off of Main Street. So.
That's not this summer, though.
No.
We're still
We're quite a few years ahead.
Yeah, we're probably a good 5 to 10 years away from that part, but this actual signal will be built this summer, and the 5 lanes, the start of the 5-lane will be constructed this summer as well.
Great.
So.
This project really looks ahead to having an I-15 interchange off of Center Street. We're getting ready to bring a lot of traffic to that interchange on those 5 lanes and not have them go on our Spanish Fork Main Street, which is getting really, really congested.
Yeah, we wanted to have this open and ready before the high school is built too. So the high school students are going to bring in a lot of traffic to 630 West, and that intersection will warrant, and it'll be unsafe without a signal. So.
Right now, the high school faces more of 300 West. It's going to switch completely 180 degrees and face 630 West. And the main way to get to that high school, to the parking, will be off of Center Street and 630 West. So this intersection at 630 West and Center Street is going to be heavily, heavily used by high school students.
So it's the new front door, basically.
Yeah,
the new way to access
basically.
it.
And can you imagine, once we have an interchange further down the road on I-15, all that traffic coming in. So we designed this signal to handle a lot of traffic, and I think it will perform really well. Dylan, would you like to talk about the 800 East Center Street signal?
Certainly, yeah. So we're kind of on the other, we're at the top of the hill from being at the bottom of the hill. The schools that we're close to here are Diamond Fork Middle School and Park Elementary are the 2 schools that are close to this signal. This is another great example of an intersection that we've known has had some issues for some time. And we've been working to get this solution implemented. So here at 800 East, we're going to install a traffic signal much like the other ones we've seen. In fact, we can take a look at the plans as well. Again, it's a simple, basic traffic signal. One feature that we're going to do that we think will really help the operations here is widening one extra lane on that north leg. So coming south on 800 East, we'll now have 3 lanes to choose from. So you can turn right or go through or turn left with your own lane. And we think that'll really help performance of the intersection and more than anything, create a much safer environment, right? Crossing 5 lanes when there's a lot of traffic is risky. You know, you kind of feel like you're taking your life in your hands when you have to cross 5 lanes of traffic during rush hour. So this is something that'll eliminate that whole risk. Now you'll have your own dedicated time to go, and we're excited about the improvements that this will create.
This is really good. I take this north end 6 times a day, so I'll be definitely a beneficiary of this. There's some weird curves here and some weird angles and gutters. Mm-hmm. What's going to happen with all that?
Yeah, great question. In fact, if we take a look here on this same figure, down there at the southeast corner, you'll notice we have a pretty elaborate ramp designed. We have that designed because if you were to go over there and try to get down that hill in a wheelchair right now, well, for one, it's not possible, and 2, it would be a very bad day. And so we're redoing this whole corner to make sure that you can get there as a pedestrian of any form, right? A bicycle, a wheelchair, or just walking. So we're going to redo that whole corner. The other corners, as you can see, will also have improvements made to the curb and gutter. We'll install new ramps and make sure that they're accessible and ready for pedestrians to use, which currently it's not like that, right? Right now you kind of have to jump off at the curb to get onto the road in some spots. So this will be a big improvement.
Fantastic.
We've actually had requests from pedestrians in that area to make that a little bit safer for them to travel. I feel like this is another project that's going to help make traffic north-south on roads that aren't Main Street a little bit easier. And so maybe we'll switch gears a little bit and go to another north-south alternative to Main Street in 300 West. We've made quite a few changes to 300 West already, with making it a little bit easier to travel if you are going to use that instead of Main Street. And the final change that we have planned is a roundabout at 4th North and 300 West. Here at 4th North, we have a couple issues that this roundabout will address. First of all, you have 4th North, which is a major collector road. There's a lot of traffic on the road, and it makes it so a lot of times if you're on 3rd West, you're waiting a long time before you can get across. When you do move across, you have traffic coming at pretty high speeds that you have to avoid, and so it's kind of a dangerous intersection. The other problem that we have here is the traffic coming from the west is coming at a fairly high speed, and they come around this somewhat of a blind corner, and so that makes it even more difficult to see cross traffic or when you're driving north and south to see the traffic coming. And so with that, a roundabout solves that problem really well. It makes it so that we slow down traffic in all directions. It's continuous flow, so you shouldn't have to wait long in either direction. And maybe what we can do is, Dylan, would you mind describing kind of more the detail of this design, if we can bring that up?
Yeah, of course. One thing you said, Chris, that's super important to highlight about roundabouts is they're actually safer than traffic signals. And that's something, whenever I tell somebody that, they look at me like I'm just making it up. But it's true. They're actually safer, and it's because of the things you mentioned, right? They create a space where cars have to slow down to get through the roundabout, and they limit the amount of contact that cars have with each other and with pedestrians. So we're excited about this. The state actually, this is the state's road, 400 North. The state knew we needed to do something here, and they came to us and said, well, what should we do? Should we do a signal? And we talked with them, and they came back and said, no, a roundabout's the better way to go. So we're excited that we were able to upgrade to a roundabout. And some of the features that you'll notice here on this drawing that are really, really good. One thing that we were concerned about was that there's a school crossing right here along 300 West, there's a school crossing that goes all the way from Brockbank down to the high school, basically, right? It's a major route where a lot of school kids walk to and from. And currently, it's kind of dangerous. we never like to see dangerous situations in the city, and this is one that always makes me nervous. This is going to be a lot better. You'll notice some of the signs we're putting up. Those signs indicate places we're going to install flashing lights. So when anyone at any time of the day chooses to cross 400 North or 300 West, they'll just push the button, the flashing lights will come on and stop the traffic, and they'll be able to go across the road. Another thing that's really great about roundabouts is you'll notice there's a bunch of concrete right in the middle of the road. And that's a place where cars don't want to be. So if there's ever an issue or if a pedestrian feels unsafe, a pedestrian can wait inside of that concrete, and it's a little refuge for them to wait until traffic is better or until people slow down and wait for them to cross. So in all ways, we think this is an improvement. It'll improve traffic flow, it'll improve pedestrian safety, and it'll look a lot better than a traffic signal too. We're gonna make it look pretty as well, so.
And I think this is the other side where you'll get a lot of high school traffic, right? We have that traffic light and now this, and I think it'll make it easier for school times and high schoolers to get to and from where they need to go, and the rest of us too.
Yeah, good point. It is very important to us to get this done before the high school opens up and those traffic patterns start to change with the high school. There's another project on the east side of town at the end of, almost to the end of Canyon Road, where we are creating a new route to Highway 6. And we've worked on this first little phase of it, and we have, I understand, a signal coming this summer.
There'll be a signal coming, and we're
And
designing
a future program. So Jared, why don't you kind of talk about what we're calling the 2000 East connection?
Yeah, this is the 2000 East connection to US 6. It's another connection that will add to US 6. And if you can go to the next slide, we can show you that we're gonna add a connection right here to US 6. This is in between Center Street and 2550 East, or the Spanish Fork Parkway. This is the phase 2 of a project that we've been constructing off of Canyon Road over here. So this phase 1 has been completed. And so this summer, we're in the design process of designing the traffic signal that will come in on 2300 East. They'll come over to this roundabout, and then they'll come over to this roundabout and go to US 6. In 2025, we plan on getting this project designed, getting the right-of-way acquired, and constructing the project to add another connection to US 6. We anticipate that this phase 3 will actually beat us and be constructed by the developers. The development in that area is actually moving faster than we are, faster than the funding's becoming available. So this connection we look to have open the latest 2026, but it's an upcoming project. The funds will be available in 2025. But look to see that connection. It's going to really work for this area. You'll also be able to come off of 1700 East and tie into this with a different city project. So
this will be in the future, but we can look at some steps this summer, even as we get a traffic signal.
You'll see construction. I know
Road.
the big thing is the signal. I think Dylan could probably tell us more about when that's going to be, but we're working with UDOT to get that installed as quick as possible. So.
Yeah, Spanish Fork City, we're pretty aggressive sometimes in a good way. The state of Utah has a whole lot of projects to do, as you can imagine, right? And in fact, traffic signals in particular are backed up gears right now. So what we've done with UDOT is we went to UDOT and we said, hey, we need this traffic signal installed ASAP. And they said, well, we just can't do it that fast. And we said, how about you give us the money and we'll go build it for you, right? And then we manage that project in-house. We design it, we manage the construction, we get it done faster so that our residents can enjoy the benefits of it sooner. That's one example of the way that we approach things to try to solve the traffic problems as soon as we can. There's only so much we can do, so we just do our best. But like Jared said, we're starting design on this one right now. We're hoping to see this one built later this year, maybe fall at the latest will be done. So
that's great. These are a few of the projects coming up right now. But we have more that we'll talk about in a later episode, I guess.
Yeah, we'll do a few more of these, and I think there's a lot we can talk about. We can talk about roundabouts and state roads and winter parking when we get back to that, in the fall. I think we could be here for hours, but this probably is a good ending point. We've been over 8 different projects that are going to happen this summer. I think it's going to affect just about everybody in the city in some way or another, and hopefully positively. We know construction's hard. There's going to be some delays. It's going to be rough, but the grass is going to be greener at the end. I think it'll be well worth our patience as we get these projects done. So, any last thoughts before we wrap up? Did we miss anything?
So one of the things that we've learned a lot is that some of our best maybe ideas, as well as just becoming aware of traffic problems that are out there, come from the residents who travel these roads all the time. And so we really want to encourage the residents out there to let us know of maybe the traffic situations that are the most important to them, or things that they wonder if we could address in some way. And the best way to do that is we have a number that you can just text your issue with. Give us the intersection or the location, and then what problems that you're seeing there. And then we'll respond to that, but we'll also kind of keep it in mind as far as what the priorities of our residents are, and make sure that our plans accommodate any of those issues. So Nick, can you kind of share that number?
Yeah, so it's our Public Works number. It's a number you could call as well, but it's 801-804-4550. So you can text it, you can call it, we'll respond during business hours. And thank you for that feedback, and give you an answer and a timeline if we have one. And maybe your issue's on a state road, but we'll take that to UDOT, right? If, a lot of our roads are state roads, US6 Canyon Road, First South for part of it, Main Street. So we work really well with UDOT. We'll pass that on to them. We may encourage you to do the same, and we can send you the link to fill out their form. But I think there was just a couple weeks ago that we had a resident text us and say, hey, the pedestrian crossing at this intersection isn't working. And Dylan went and found out that the wires got crossed and they were activating the other crosswalk unknowingly. And we never would have known that without a text like this. So we will read them, and we'll do what we can to get a fix or to include them in our plans. So yeah, anytime text us. You can also access that from our website. Just in the bottom corner. I think it's even my picture for some reason. So just click on my face and send us a text. Send it to the Public Works number, which is, again, 801-804-4550. And one of you guys will probably respond to that. And we can get things and make things better. So
yeah, we really appreciate any contribution from the residents of Spanish Fork. And boy, we have so many meetings on how can we help the traffic get better around town. Sometimes it's frustrating because a lot of the roads that have the congestion are UDOT roads, and sometimes we feel like we can't do a whole lot about it, but UDOT's been a great partner, and we've been able to go reach out to them and talk about these issues and get some of these projects like on US6 in the queue and going so that we can get some relief.
Perfect. Well, thank you for joining us. A huge shout out to SF17 for producing this and being a partner with us. And we'll catch you next time on the Spanish Fork Roadshow.